This short lecture will introduce you to technical communication and some of the basics for what you'll need to know to be successful this semester, and hopefully some of the things that will help you in the future as you become a better technical communicator. So, let's get started. So, there are four basic modes of communication that anyone participates in, whether in the business world or life in general, and that's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And all four of those things are going to be important in this course and also in your professional life. So, the main thing that I want to discuss with you is really the need to understand your audience and purpose. This is going to be an ideal that is central to our course and also central to strengthening your communication skills, your collaboration skills, and your critical thinking skills. The ability to understand your audience and your purpose is going to help you make better documents, not only in your work life, but it can also help you in your academic life and even in your personal life. When you can understand who you're talking to and what you need to talk about and why, you can tailor things to make your point get across even better and even make your ideas stronger. So, if you don't take away anything else from this class, I want to make sure that you become an expert at being able to recognize a specific audience and a specific purpose, and then use critical thinking skills in order to be able to tailor your ideas to convince that audience of that particular purpose. That to me is the whole point of this class. And everything that we're going to do within the course is going to help strengthen that skill and help you become better at doing that. And that can be from everywhere from, you know, understanding how to make a specific format fit an audience. For instance, if you're going to try to market to a teenager right now, which social media app do you think would be most effective? Is it going to be Facebook? Probably not. TikTok? Bingo, you got it. You have to go with what the current audience is, you need to go with a format with what a current audience is most invested in or is most interesting to them. Okay, hold on a second. There we go. So, one of the things that our book discusses is the challenges that you will face when you are producing technical communication. And usually when you read the first chapter in a textbook or you get an introduction to a course, the first chapter can kind of be like, no duh kind of stuff, where you're just like, okay, of course, like there are going to be some challenges in learning how to write. Of course there are. But I really think that the way that the book lays out on pages 5 and 6, these challenges of technical communication factors and the related factors, I think that those are really probably some of the best points in the book, particularly because they really list, instead of listing these definitions for you, they really list these questions that you can consider when you're thinking about these things. And I would really recommend taking a look at these questions on your own, because I think that this is going to help you not only do the assignments for the class, but really consider some of the challenges you might face in your professional writing career. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I think about some of them. For example, audience and purpose. We've kind of spoken about this just a few slides ago and for the most of this presentation. But knowing your audience is very important. Sometimes beginning students of communication will say, well, it's a general audience. And I'm here to tell you that there is like literally no general audience. That's not a thing. There is always a specific audience in mind. And so when you are thinking about audience, you have to be very specific. Now, there might be outline audiences that might see something and they might come away with something different from it, but there is always a very specific audience that something's targeted towards. For instance, women's deodorant. You know, a 1-year-old female is not going to use that, right? But probably someone who's in puberty until, well, hopefully you wear deodorant until the day you die. It's going to be a specific audience, right? You're going to have at least have hit puberty to start smelling before you need deodorant, right? Theoretically. So when you know your audience, you're going to need to adjust your approach to be specific. And that is going to be the key to being successful in this course, is learning how to adjust your approach and be flexible. I think sometimes in writing courses or in education in general, students have been conditioned that there is a right and a wrong way to do that, especially in this course where many of you are majoring in very fact-based, right or wrong, black or white types of majors. In accounting, something is right or wrong when you're looking at a spreadsheet. But when it comes to writing, there are lots of areas of gray. And so I'm going to encourage you to be flexible in your mind. It might be difficult for you to do that, and adjust your approach. And don't worry so much about being right or wrong, as long as you can explain to me why you did it that way and why, and show me that you're being specific. You're going to be fine. And then again, another related factor is your purpose. You have to think about what your goals are. What do you need your audience to believe? Is there more than one purpose? I mean, texts can be multidimensional. They don't have to just be one thing. Again, sometimes in writing courses, we're conditioned that, you have an introduction with a three-pronged sentence, a three-pronged thesis that says, I'm going to discuss A, B, and C, then you have a middle, and you have an end. That 5-paragraph essay does not work for everything. Sometimes you have just one specific thing you have to get across, and there's only one thing in that thesis, and you're going to discuss it for 5 paragraphs. So keep in mind that sort of thing too. There can be more than one purpose, and what does your audience need to know? Another related factor is the setting. It's very important that you understand the context surrounding a problem. If you don't understand what's going on around with your audience, with your purpose, and all of the things that are building up to that, then when you write something, it can not be as effective. For example, if you are going to write something about a new, I don't know why I'm thinking of personal care products, maybe because I have lipstick sitting in front of me, but like if you need to try to market a new lipstick and you are thinking of how you can reach your audience, and the latest trend in makeup online is cruelty-free or vegan, you need to understand that when you are trying to market that lipstick, because your audience is going to have an expectation that you let them know that information. If you left that information out, selling lipstick might not be as effective, okay? So where will the document be received is another thing that you have to think about. The setting, is it something that's going to be printed out like a flyer or a memo and distributed around an office, put in people's mailboxes? Is it going to be something that's going to be posted online? Is it going to be on social media or a website or a blog? And what are the norms for that sort of setting? Like, you're not going to write a 48-page novel and put it on Instagram. Like, that would be insane. Like, people don't read past like one sentence on Instagram, right? They're just like looking for a link in bio, okay? So you have to kind of think about those norms for what you're doing. This is like not wanting to go forward as smoothly as I thought it would. Okay, now we're really rocking. Okay. And then again, document. That's also important too. What type of content should be included? What medium, are you working with? That kind of goes back to the setting. A little bit of what I was talking about. Are you going to be doing it digitally? Is it going to be orally? Is it going to be written down? That's going to influence the style. That's going to also, and your audience is also going to influence the formality. The way you might send a text to your best friend versus how you might send a text to your boss if you're running late are probably two different things, or they should be. Maybe you're not doing that, but The way in which you communicate with a boss is probably in most cases different than a friend. Okay. And then finally, the last related factor is process. And process is really important when you're talking about in the professional world. If you're going to work for a larger company, they're more than likely going to already have established processes for how they do particular things. So we can learn all we can about APA format and MLA format, and this is how a proper memo should look according to our textbook. But at the end of the day, if you go to Big Snack Food and start working there, they are going to have particular ways in which they've been writing documents for many years, and you're going to have to learn to be, again, flexible and creative to be able to fit into how you write for those forms. And hopefully in this class, when we get started, we're going to kind of be going by the book and really doing that. But as we progress, I'm hoping that you'll be able to do some of your own independent research and see what kind of writing is done in your specific field and what sorts of processes you might need to follow. And it might also be a case where you go into a business and you'll need to invent your own process. As an instructor, I have to invent my own professional documents to give to you in my assignment sheets and those sorts of things. Still following some guidelines by the college, I should let you know this particular thing and that, but at the end of the day, I do have to invent my own process for doing that. A lot of writing these days also, the process is collaborative, especially in industries such as accounting and computer science, which many of you are going into. You will be working with teams doing a lot of collaborative writing, and that could be using something like a live Google Doc or using Microsoft Teams or using, whatever management system your company has if you're working for a larger company to produce and write on documents that are shared with other people in real time. So that will also influence your process. If you're writing on your own time for your own self, completing a project, you can do that whenever. If you're collaborating on that document, you might have to set a schedule of time of when you're going to collaborate on this document or who's going to update it next. And then finally, a consideration is document maintenance. Today, so many things are available online and so many things are not updated like they should be. And you'll have to also consider that in your process when you're planning out, okay, so who's going to update this when and how, and what will be the necessary updates. So these are all just some factors that you should consider when you're thinking about the challenges that might come into play when you are doing technical communication. So one other thing that I think that you should definitely take away from this chapter is the really nice layout of what the writing process might look like when you are talking about writing technical documents. And this is on page 11. And this is probably something that you've been taught, whether explicitly or implicitly, throughout your career as a writer. Even in your high school English class, you probably had a teacher that said, okay, guys, now we need to brainstorm, and now we're going to write a rough draft and an outline, and then we're going to revise and edit, and you should proofread it before you turn it in. So this is probably something that's familiar to you, but I really think that one of the things that we can think about when we're talking about technical writing is how we can use this familiar process to make our technical documents even stronger. Again, when we're doing our planning, really examining the audience and purpose. In your first short writing assignment, that is what I'm going to be asking you to do, is really think about who is the audience and who is the purpose for this. What specifically does this audience need to know? And what kind of person can we tell they are from this specific item? So it's really important in the planning that you don't skip the planning process. Sometimes we want to jump right into drafting, but if we skip the planning and forget to analyze our audience or generate ideas about our subject or do our research, then our drafts will be pretty weak and they won't be as strong as they could be. So this is definitely something that I think you should take a look at on page 11 in our text of practical strategies. I think they do a pretty good job of breaking down some different questions you can ask yourself in the writing process. I find even myself as a writer, and I am a professional writer. Um, I find that I sometimes can struggle with getting started. And I think that the questions they're kind of guiding you in the planning process here are really strong questions that can help you get started. So our book also shows some sample technical documents, and my air conditioner just turned on, and I'm sorry if it's really loud. Maybe you won't hear it, maybe you will, but I'll try to speak a little louder. So, and this is the last thing, so I'm wrapping up anyways. But our book also shows some sample technical documents that you can take a look at just to kind of get a feel of the types of things that you might see in the working world. And I think that they show some pretty good things, such as like, different images, and they show, some how people comment and reply to each other in an organization. And, I think that what I appreciate about that is they didn't just show you a memo, because I think a lot of times, and we're going to write a memo in this class, like, yeah, you need to learn how to do that. You need to learn how to write meeting minutes. You need to learn how to make a proposal and do those sorts of things. But I'd encourage you to think about professional writing as not just those specific things, but also any type of writing that you're doing professionally, whether it's sending an email or a text or chatting on a company server. You are representing yourself professionally in those ways, and you have to always, always consider your audience and purpose when you do that. I've definitely seen people in a group chat that is related to a professional meeting say some things that you go, oh no, like, did you forget where you're at? You're at work. Don't do that. So I think that it's really important to consider those things. For our first major assignment, we're going to be working on writing a memo. And what you're going to be doing is locating an owner's manual from a consumer product, anything around the house you have, an old manual you threw in a junk drawer. If you don't have anything like that, just find a manual for an item online. It can be really anything. I don't know, maybe a gaming system manual or something. Any kind of manual. It doesn't matter. We're just going to analyze it, and it's not important what it is as long as you find one. And we're going to be analyzing that. And one of the ways in which I have the course structured is you'll notice that we'll have short writing assignments, and then we'll have the major assignment. And those short writing assignments are going to be designed for you to practice. They should be low stress, low pressure. I'll be asking you questions to get you thinking about the major assignment to help you in the process of developing it. And then I'll be giving you feedback on those so that when you go to make your final product for your major assignment, you'll be able to use those ideas to help improve your major assignment. So no busy work in this class. Everything is designed to make sure that you're getting the most away from the class that you can. So short writing assignments fit with major assignments. Quizzes, just make sure that you're understanding the things that I think are important in the course. Reflective midterm and reflective final, those things are to get you to really think about and process what you've been learning. So discussions, chatting with each other about what we're doing now and what we think about it. These things are all going to be important. So that is all I have for you for this week in this lecture. I hope that you have found it helpful, and be sure to comment on the questions, comments, and concerns boards if you have any questions about the lecture.